So Michael LeBlanc said something to me that stuck with me the past couple weeks. He said, "We've all been fasting from comfort this year." At the beginning of June, I took up Pastor Davis' challenge to fast for racial justice. And mine was a small fast. Still, I'm not sure I'd ever intentionally fasted for a period of time before. I've always wondered if I should have a practice of fasting, but it also seemed really outdated. I mean, few of us can fast and pray like monks or nuns of old. We can't stop everything to do it. We might not eat, we might become plenty aware of our weakness and fragility, but that alone doesn't stop the onslaught of responsibilities and schedules and projects and even intentional family time. We'll just be a little more, or maybe a lot more, irritable through the same daily whirlwind. But we have all fasted from comfort this year. I find that realization striking. We have, to varying degrees, had our rhythms of life disrupted. We've lost things, among them ways we rest and recharge, like times at the gym or breakfast and happy hours with friends. And some of us have lost more than just comfort. We've lost time with parents and grandparents. We've lost financial security. We've lost health, or even the lives of loved ones. For me, the first few weeks of isolation in March and April were jarring, like whiplash from slamming on the brakes. Looking back, I realized that if my mode of life resembles fasting these days, my life before COVID was a constant feast. Now, feasting and fasting are a biblical cycle. We know that the great fast of Lent ends in the feast of Easter. But I've always struggled with balance. My instinct is to always fill my schedule to the brim, to invest every moment I can in meaningful activity, which even means that rest is anticipated and scheduled. There's this film from a few years back, and I'm not going to name it or recommend it here, but let's just say the main character is a sex addict. But she has this incredible quote partway through that stuck with me. She says this: "Perhaps the only difference between me and other people is that I've always demanded more from the sunset. More spectacular colors when the sun hit the horizon. That's perhaps my only sin." I resonate really deeply with that desire for more, an insatiable thirst for beauty and connection, a desire for a life of constant feasting, which is a life that hasn't been possible lately. But I'm learning in this season. I'm learning how much comfort I actually don't need. And I'm learning a little bit about the maxim, live simply so that others may simply live. Live simply so that others may simply live. And this brings me back to my original motivation of my June fast, racial justice. When we recognize that our lives as human beings are interconnected, we recognize the simplicity and contentedness and gratitude can be means of solidarity. When we expect less from what we have more to share. But it goes deeper than that too. John Shantz bought me a book about a year ago. And it's one of those books that's so dense it takes way more than a year to read. So I'm only about halfway through. The book is called Christ in the Common Life. And early on, the author Luke Bretherton recalls one of the Beatitudes: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." He goes on to argue that the poor in spirit are the powerless, those who have little control over the circumstances of their life on earth. They don't have powerful friends or intergenerational wealth or exceptional education, but they will, Jesus says, have something greater, the kingdom of heaven. You see, the kingdom of heaven doesn't operate on power, it operates on love. And I think there's a lesson for us in this, even though many of us are far from poor or powerless. For Jesus is inviting us into the kingdom of love as well, but he's saying that to live in it, we have to live more like the poor in spirit. We're going to have to accept the ways which COVID has helped reveal that we are already powerless. And rather than try to quickly fix them to become more independent, we have to lean into our interdependence. Because we don't just need to live like the poor in spirit, we need to live with them. We need to realize that we all have needs we cannot meet, that we can sometimes meet someone else's needs, and that others can sometimes meet our needs. We need each other. And we're meant to live together, which means we're meant to fast together and feast together. We're meant to feast like the man in Luke 14 who invites all the people of the street to his banquet. We're meant to feast together. It's a big vision, and it's hard to imagine the details of the road ahead. But I know that simplicity is important, and I know that generosity is important, and I know that gratitude is important. We've all been fasting from comfort, but that means we get to live simply so that others can simply live. And we're called to live with them, to fast when they fast and feast when they feast. We're meant to feast together in the kingdom of love. So so I'll see you at the table.